All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us throughout the day here at the Lytham Partners Fall 2024 Investor Conference. My name is Robert Blum, Managing Partner of Lytham Partners. During this upcoming presentation, we welcome Jericho Energy Ventures, ticker symbol of JEV on the TSX Venture and JROOF on the OTC. And joining us today from the company is the Director and Chief Executive Officer, Brian Williamson. Before I do turn it over to Brian, I want to remind everyone that management is available for one-on-one meetings throughout the conference here today. If you've not already scheduled your one-on-one meeting and would like to do so, shoot me an email. That's Blum, B-L-U-M, at lythampartners.com, or you can visit the landing page for the conference. That's lythampartners.com/fall 2024. From there, you can click on the investor registration button and make your one-on-one selections. So with that, Brian, thank you so much for your participation in the conference today. Floor, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Lytham Partners, for inviting Jericho to present at the conference today. So today you're going to hear about Jericho Energy Ventures, and it's really the story of two businesses that are built around three key factors: team, tech, and timing. So those are the key hallmarks to Jericho, and you'll hear about them as we go through our presentation. First things first, forward-looking statement. So obviously, forward-looking statement, probably seen this a million times. All right, moving on. So Jericho Energy Ventures, as I said, tech, team, and timing. So we are a company that was built on an energy platform. Energy is all we do. It's all we think about. At our earliest days, we were all about the hydrocarbon molecules. So we have an energy background and underpinning, oil and gas being our focal point for the first 5 years of our life. So we have acquired quite a special set of oil and gas producing assets in North America, primarily focused in Oklahoma. And these oil and gas assets are what provide us the cash flow as we've transitioned our business. So what you will see from Jericho is over the last 2+ years, we have added a pretty exciting and dynamic component to our platform, which is our hydrogen business. So our hydrogen business is born out of the cash flows and our knowledge about energy. So we have built what we believe is the exact right way and the exact right time to approach this energy transition from a user perspective. So we'll hear a lot of today about our hydrogen platform and some of the things we are doing there that are pretty special. And so to think about the value proposition that is Jericho. So in harvesting cash flows, the dichotomy that you have to look at in the market is what do entities trade on? So oil and gas, micro cap, small cap oil and gas companies, and for that matter, pretty much all oil and gas companies other than a few majors, trade on single-digit multiples of cash flow. So when you think about an oil company, you can pick your company of choice, but you'll see they trade somewhere between 1 and at best 3 times cash flow, unless there's something pretty special there in terms of how they focus their assets. But generally speaking, these are businesses that get valued on a cash flow basis. On the other side of our world, you have a hydrogen business. The world sees growth. The world sees a market that is ready to explode. And hydrogen business are valued on revenue. Even in a depressed market, hydrogen businesses trade at a multiple of 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 and 20 times revenue. So at Jericho, you have this unique value proposition where we are taking those cash flows, reinvesting them in a multiple structure where you're getting about a 10x return on your cash flow in terms of market cap. So pretty excited about what we've built and sharing more about it with you today. So the energy transition. So this isn't new, right? And so what are we solving for? So if you look at the bottom right corner, this $1 trillion wedge is real. It's a global issue. You're seeing it in the United States, you're seeing it in Canada, you see it in Europe. One of the things that sometimes happens in the North American markets is we forget that we are pretty much the only folks who have really inexpensive natural gas. If you go across the pond, their natural gas isn't so inexpensive. So their push to transition is happening fast and furious over there. But you're seeing a global push. And most importantly, you're seeing money flows. So when you look at dollars invested in the energy transition versus traditional energy, it's somewhere between 15 and 25 to 1, depending on the quarter, depending on the year, in terms of dollars that go into the energy transition versus the classic energy platform. So this is the hydrogen ecosystem, and this is the world we live in. We believe that hydrogen will be a part of the energy complex for the long term, but we believe its participation will be different than traditional energy. We see it as a distributed solution, meaning it's a solution that will be available to customers just like traditional energy, but it will be distributed on site. Because what we're seeing, whether it's a energy transition or classic energy or a classic utility project, most of the infrastructure things we see today take 2 to 3x the time they used to take. So a grid interconnect that was a 24 to 36 month process for a given renewable project is now running you between 4 and 7 years. So we believe the way to solve the energy transition is really doing it in a distributed fashion. So our solutions are built to service the customers on site in an industrial commercial market from end to end. So how do we think about the marketplace? So we look for markets that are ripe for change. So drilling down, what does that mean? Do we sell a fuel cell? Do we sell hydrogen? Our value proposition is looking at a particular world and a particular market and how we can capture all of these incentives for each of our customers. And whether it's the $3 per kilogram tax credit, whether it's the carbon credits in the UK, or whether it's the clean energy credits, the 45Vs that come with using renewables. Our goal is to get all of those to our customers when they move forward in the energy transition. So this is our platform, and this is where it starts. So the biggest piece of our platform was our 2021 acquisition of Hydrogen Technologies. Pretty special piece of the portfolio for us. Hydrogen Technologies is a wholly owned subsidiary that makes hydrogen oxygen fueled zero emission steam systems, boilers. Boring as all get out, but boilers are a $30 billion market just in the United States. And they are dirty and they are old. And you're going to hear more about that in a minute. Other part of our platform is making hydrogen. So we have made strategic bets on different green hydrogen production solutions. One being H2U, which makes earth-abundant catalysts to replace platinum and iridium solutions. The other being supercritical, which makes a high-pressure electrolyzer specifically focused on the ammonia marketplace. And not listed here, and also not necessarily ready for market yet, but is our own special technology that we'll be announcing in the not too distant future, which is delivering green hydrogen on site for customers at the lowest levelized cost. More to come on that. Next slide. So the boiler market, completely misunderstood, a market that people don't realize is so pervasive. So boilers pretty much touch every industry you can think of: pulp, paper, food, chemical, oil, commercial property. They are everywhere. They are the lifeblood of most industrial processes. The thing about boilers that no one realizes, they are old. The average boiler lasts 20 years. The average boiler in service in the United States today is 28 years. So they are running on average 8 years beyond their useful life. So when a corporation, chief operating officer, chief engineer has to make a decision to replace their steam boilers, they're making a 20-year decision. And this is what we love about this as a starting point for entering the energy transition market, because your customer, our customer, is now thinking about what is going to be required of me, not today in 2024, but what's required of me in 2030, 2040, 2050. That's the reality of the decision that's being made for their steam system. And I don't think anybody can argue that when we look out to 2040, 2045, the emission standards will only get more restrictive over time. So nobody wants to put a solution in place that they're going to have to write off or uninstall before its useful life is over. That's what we love about this market. And what's crazy about it, nobody realizes almost a third of the ones that still run on coal. This is a dirty underbelly of most of the industrial world that doesn't get much attention. So when you think about this world, what you don't see is the 4,000 cars equivalent emissions coming out of a given industrial boiler. So for every car you think about decarbonizing, it takes 4,000 of them to equal one of these boilers. So love the opportunity, love the focus, and think it's a great place to land in the industrial process. And this is what we solve for. Hydrogen Technologies was bought, and we have built their solution to solve for this exact problem. So, not to waste too much time talking about the technicalities of how the boiler works, but it is patented. We have a whole host of patents on it. And what is special about it is the emissions. So at the end of the day, we are bringing together for an electrochemical reaction, the hydrogen and the oxygen molecule. They combust, making high temp steam. It is what is needed in almost all industrial processes across the developed marketplace. The only byproduct of our process is water. So you have steam, water. That's all we make. So the reality is our boiler is completely emission-free, no carbon dioxide, no NOx, and no particulate matter. So the air and around our systems will get cleaner the instant it's installed. So what do we think about? So how do we build this? So this is not new, right? Like everything else, you're just hearing about it for the first time today. But the reality is it's a technology that has been in process for a better part of 10 years. So it's an overnight solution, an overnight success, I guess is the way I would say to you. When you think about what else is in our portfolio, the boiler is the enabler, but every solution needs hydrogen. And so Jericho now has a portfolio of solutions to deliver that hydrogen. So we have the boiler, which is the tool, the hydrogen, which is the fuel, right? So here you have H2U, which is one of our fuel provider companies, early investment with us. And the irony of this is we did this investment with Hess, another oil company that now is part of Chevron, but obviously looking to decarbonize. And who's our first client there? SoCalGas. So you can see the energy transition even making its way into the oil and gas space. Next slide. Supercritical, UK-based company. We were the original investor in this with the folks at Lower Carbon Capital. Not a name that everybody would know, but the companies that Lower Carbon Capital backs, everybody would know. So LinkedIn, Lower Carbon Capital backed company. More just like LinkedIn they have. What is really interesting about this is this company is now being funded beyond us by the likes of Shell and Toyota, focused on delivering high pressure hydrogen for ammonia. So think about fertilizer, massive hydrogen market. Fertilizer needs high pressure hydrogen in order to be processed. So here you take out the compression, delivering really cheap hydrogen specifically geared towards that process. Love what they're doing. Have had amazing experience with them. We now have Anglo as an investor in it. Like I said, I think you're going to have Toyota. You'll see Toyota as an investor in it. So all of the users, that's what we love about some of these things. You're getting real world applications. So again, boiler is our tool. Hydrogen is our fuel. So we want to own the molecule too. So not only do we want you to buy our boiler, but we want our customers to come to us for the fuel. Next slide. So you heard a little bit about our tech. And I said it's really about three things. It's tech, team, and timing. So I think when you look at our team, you bring together the perfect balance and mix of two things. You have a balance of market expertise, financing expertise, and science. Right? We have some amazing science folks. When you think about the team of Janet, Jordan, Romy, they are outstanding. You have people that are MIT grads, Yale grads, McKinsey, built Rolls-Royce engines. These are some of the smartest folks in the world when it comes to hard science as it relates to the chemical and the mechanical engineering world, right? Our finance and sort of management team, myself, Ben, Ryan, Dean, all come with a ton of big corporate experience, but also startup experience. Dean and I both started at the same place at Accenture, Arthur Andersen. Um, Dean is a three-time entrepreneur and he runs our commercial operations. So Dean is at the tip of the spear getting customers involved. Ryan is a classically trained GP Morgan investment banker. So, our financing models stand on their head and our pricing models and our overall financial strategy all come from Ryan. Ben is our CFO, been in the energy industry for 20 plus years. And as I said, I've been doing what we're doing in hydrogen, but more specifically, been doing energy for 25 years. And I've been doing it with the same investors that back Jericho. So these same folks have been our investors for quite some time. They predate our Jericho days. So they came with us into Jericho. They came with us into the hydrogen transition. Big supporters of us as a team, and they're big believers in the energy transition. And why do they matter? They matter because we get to see directly into the corporate world. So Ed Breen, he's the CEO and chairman of DuPont, was the CEO and chairman of Tyco. Ed and his family, one of our largest investors, an amazing resource for us to see how corporate America thinks about it, right? And this is real for them. The energy transition is happening. May always be slower than people think, but it's really happening there. Strauss Zelnick, head of Take-Two Interactive, phenomenal investor and partner for us at Jericho. We have 5 families just like those, giving us real world access to tremendous insight into the global corporate world as to what they're thinking and how they're thinking. So really supportive of everything we've done. To some extent, to our detriment, in the sense that they've participated in every financing we've done, and to our detriment, we don't see as much liquidity as we'd like to see in our stock because they are long-term holders of the stock and been a part of us since the beginning. And Adam and Tony, they are our guides as we go to the markets in both Canada and the United States and helping us stay on the straight and narrow, making sure we're accessing all the right investor communities and accessing the right markets. The last piece I want to say is timing. And I said this at the beginning. So, the energy transition offers people a unique opportunity. And you never want to look back and regret that you saw it too late, right? So there's a lot of folks that made, money and watching small companies go from sub $100 million market cap at the start of the solar and wind transition in 08 and 09. Those same companies went from sub 100 million and what looked like overnight to $1 billion. They went from sub 100 million to $1 billion in a pretty short period of time. And that's where this energy transition but the run up can be amazing. And yes, there are going to be flameouts and things that don't work. But we think our tech, our differentiated strategy, our team, and this moment in time is the perfect time to be a part of what we're doing at Jericho. Those are all our specs. So we trade on the TSXV as JEV, we trade OTC as JRU, we trade in Germany as JLM. We have 260 million shares outstanding, some options, some warrants. Market cap is $33 million Canadian, 12.5 cents a share. Amazing things out there for us, moving in the right direction. The last thing I would say is that, when you go and look on our site or you talk to Adam, what you'll hear is last quarter we announced that we are going to look to separate these businesses. So we believe that there's a value proposition in keeping the two together. The market has spoken over and over again to us, and the appetite for what we're doing in hydrogen on the growth side needs to stand on its own. So we are actively exploring opportunities and potential ways to separate our oil and gas business from our hydrogen business and have a pure play hydrogen entity. And I think from an opportunity perspective, you can see that kind of as you look at our market cap, what we have in terms of tangible oil and gas assets and where we're going with our hydrogen business. So as I said before, amazing time as we transition, and the opportunity for this energy transition, this is what I would think of as the bottom of the barrel in terms of where things trade. Because if you were to look back 12 and 24 months, the energy transition companies traded at 30 times, 20 times revenue, not earnings, revenue. And so now you're seeing them trade at 4 and 5 times, right? And so when these type of growth opportunities take hold, then the next thing you know, they start to trade in the stratosphere. And we think that that's, where we get to go when we separate this business. So looking forward to doing that. Love our platform, love what we do, and look forward to seeing anyone who wants to hear more at the one-on-ones.
Fantastic, Brian. Great presentation there. I got maybe just a couple of minutes here for some Q&A. I wanted to maybe just expand on a couple of comments that you made there.
Sure.
First, couple of well-known names that you mentioned are sort of involved. I think you mentioned 5 families that sort of controlled a vast majority of the shares. Help investors that don't understand sort of the cap table there and the ownership breakdown. Help us understand sort of the breakdown there of ownership by
groups of families since the beginning days. So we have these 5 families. If you were to take those 5 families and the folks at Jericho management and board together, what you would see is that represents about 75% of our shares outstanding. They have been, what you would call tip of the spear investors with us every round, participating, funding. In the downturn, oil goes negative, they fund it. First move into hydrogen, they fund it. All of the things you'd want from a support group, they've been a part of, and can't say enough good things about what they've done for us to date. And they continue to support and believe in the vision, and the transition is real.
Very good. I'm glad you mentioned this sort of at the end there, but maybe just to put a little bit finer point on it as it relates to, I think it was Q2, you made the announcement that you're going to evaluate sort of these options to separate the businesses, the oil and gas from the sort of the energy transition. Any sort of further, sort of updates to the status that you might be able to provide there?
I think we see it as a moment in time that we want to be thoughtful, Robert, and we want to move in the right direction. So, there is consideration for, do we continue to stay Canadian listed? Do we go to London, or do we come to the US? Where will we see the most support for what we're trying to do in the energy transition? So what we don't want to be is a tech company with no revenue listed on NASDAQ. What we want to be is a company with a revenue story that we can tell to the analysts that cover the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, because we see the tech story is old. People can't distinguish between good tech, bad tech. At the end of the day, people want to see revenue models that are sustainable and supportable. And I think for us, the key is finding our way as we get into 2025, some really exciting things coming out then that exactly hit on that point. And I think that'll make the decision as to where we go, Robert, really clear.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. When you think about a couple of maybe the key milestones that investors should be thinking about over the next, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, sort of time frame you think would be appropriate, talk through the couple of key things that we should really be looking for.
Yeah, so we had some really key milestones, and I think that there are going to be some exciting things ahead for us. So in Q1, we are working towards our very first large-scale commercial deployment. So we have had our boiler running in different places and different locations. And so our first customer is an amazing customer, and we're looking forward to that ribbon cutting in Q1 with them, doing a joint announcement with them. But here's the piece that is so interesting, right? So that deployment, while significant in size, shows what the opportunity is, both within a given facility, but then also in a global sense, right? So if you think about that, this unit is going to decarbonize somewhere between 3 and 5% of their entire heating and steam needs. So success there leads to the opportunity to do 10 more. So now you can start to build a revenue bridge. Now you can start build a cash flow bridge, right? And so we see it as a platform. We see the boiler as the opportunity to not only provide them the technology to deliver clean steam, but also the fuel that makes it go. So, our goal is to not only be that part of the solution, but to be the fuel provider there as well. So owning that whole value chain is where we think there's a real opportunity, Robert. Because you got to remember, people are used to getting their energy delivered right to them. We don't have to go get our natural gas. It's there every day. We don't have to go get our power. It's there every day. We shouldn't have to go find our hydrogen and hope it shows up every day. It should be there. And we believe it's important.
Well, look, we're sort of closing in on the end of the time. Any sort of final takeaways that you think investors should be aware of here?
I think you should take a good hard look at what we're doing and where we're going, because we're going to be the company that people are going to wake up tomorrow and say, how did they get so big, and how did they get so diversified in terms of what they're doing in the hydrogen space? I never saw that coming. It's sort of like the 10-year overnight success.
Excellent. Very good. Well, look, Brian, thank you very much. Great presentation. Appreciate your time here today. I want to remind everyone that's listening here. Again, I know Brian has a busy day of meetings here today, but if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one, I'm sure he'll find a way to make some time. Reach
100%.
out to me. That's Blum, BLUM, at lythampartners.com. Or again, you can visit the website, lythampartners.com/fall 2024. From there, you can click on the one-on-one meeting request button under investor registration, and we'll look to get you taken care of. So, number of additional presentations coming up today. Thank you, everyone, for their participation in the event. Brian, especially you, thank you very much for your participation today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate the time.
All right.